Good morning, everybody. I'm Steve Mellings from ADISA, and I'm joined today by Phil Goldsmith of MacRefresh. So good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Steve.
We've known each other a long time, 15 years.
Yeah.
Your company has recently passed their ITAD Essentials audit, so welcome back to the certification process, being certified by ADISA. What's changed, Phil? Why did you come back and reapply for ITAD certification for the business?
I think when we originally certified, like I said, 12 to 14 years ago, it worked for us. The problem then was our clients couldn't really provide the information up front that we required to reach the standards that ADISA had. Sometimes the clients would just say to us, can you come and pick up a van load of equipment? And if I'd asked, I want a detailed serial number list, they would just say, I'm not going to bother doing it then. It was like that. So we've improved on that, but with the essential standard, because it was driven by us for our clients, it was much more suitable.
And I think that's kind of the crux of what we're trying to talk about today here, which is about the reality of trying to be a certification body, but also for the industry to be able to operate without being debilitated. And I think I've gone on record publicly and talking about Standard 8, which is the certification you previously held. GDPR compliant, it's legally compliant, it's really rigorous, and sometimes you wonder whether you pushed it too far. There are pockets of customers who love it because it's compliant with the law and it makes that headache go away, and that's part of our core value proposition. But the reality is there are also others that just want a service from yourselves.
Absolutely.
And they want ease of the transaction. So let's talk about Essentials, the new certification that you've been certified to. How did you find the process itself?
The initial consultation and paperwork were very concise. We were handheld, which helped a lot. But to be honest as well, for us, most of the processes that we had in place 10 years ago when we left, we were still doing because they worked. Yeah. So, I was very pleased with the whole process.
I said we'd go off piste. I'm going to draw out that one comment there because I think that's really worth elaborating on. So you talked about most of the processes you put in place for Standard 8, you'd retained because they worked, which clearly shows that the myth around Standard 8 being really too difficult is not about the operational piece, because you carried on even though you didn't need to.
Yeah.
The client side was the problem, of course, because we can't control them. And talking of the client side, now that you've got certified, how do you think it will be received by your customer base, both new and the prospects that and existing customers? Will it help your value proposition, do you feel?
It helped me yesterday. A client of ours, a large client that we've done the Apple recycling for 12 years, we've never had a touch on the PC side at all. They phoned me on Monday and said they'd been let down badly by their existing recycler, and would I be able to do the PC collection? And the other recycler had a ADISA accreditation, and they asked me, did I have a ADISA accreditation? And I said, yes, I did. And they went, fantastic, can you come in tomorrow? So I think because they knew we'd been audited by an external auditor, they could trust our process on the PC and server side.
It's going to sound like this was scripted. I didn't know that. So thank you, Phil, for showing that straight away. And I think, ADISA certification, there are two certifications, and the audit process that we'll elaborate on a little bit. It's very rigorous, both of them are. And both of them are supported by the technical audit. As you know, it's a 2-day audit. The key difference being the legal wraparound. Talk me through your experience of being audited. Was it the actual audit day itself, was it slightly frightening, or did you find it?
I would say leading up to it, you're obviously a bit apprehensive in case you've got a glaring hole in your processes. But once you guys arrived and started auditing, it was all very friendly. They explained why they were asking certain questions. They tested our processes, which we knew were good from previously. And I wouldn't say it's an enjoyable experience, but it wasn't a bad experience.
I met a chap on one of our LOCKS certifications. He said, I really enjoyed the audit, and the whole room that we were in just looked at him quizzically saying, okay, audits are not something people typically get pleasure out of, but they shouldn't be frightening, because effectively ITAD Essentials is you showcasing what you do because it's a risk-based assessment, so it should be a reasonably painless process. Let's talk the sector more broadly than just MacRefresh and ADISA, perhaps. You've been around a long time in the industry as well. Where do you see yourself? I'm not editing that. Where do you see the sector going in the next? I'm going to say 2 years, as well as the longer 5-10 years, because I think we're in a state of flux at the moment. What are you seeing?
A few of the things. I mean, we talk about the circular economy, and I've just done some work for a local council who are running 8 and 9 year old laptops. And I've got other clients that replace their laptops at 3 years old as soon as they run out of warranty. If we can take these 3-year-old laptops that we get in quantity, refurbish them, and then have the ability to offer them back to local authorities, to schools, libraries, where we could also offer a 3-year warranty on them, they might be half the cost of them buying them new. And in a school, that could be the difference between every pupil having a laptop and pupils having to share them. And I think that would be a really good way to go if we can get more companies on board with the concept of using refurbished equipment.
Do you feel it's interesting that you say that, because we did some work during COVID for the Digital Poverty Alliance, and of course homeschooling, huge problem with the volume of equipment that was actually in the home and people who have internet connectivity, which is a disgrace in this country, in my opinion. One of the things that we found is the point that you made, is that even the Department of Education, or for Education, when they were given a government grant, they bought new. And that money that they were given to help homeschooling could have gone twice as far, if not 3 times as far.
Yeah.
So is there a prejudice about buying secondhand, do you still feel?
I think there is, because people believe that if you buy something secondhand, it's not going to be reliable. Yeah, and I think if some of the ITADs have the ability to sell with their own warranty supporting it as well, obviously at a cost, then the council would know, or the local authority, that for 3 years they have no IT expenses at all.
Again, we're going to go off piste a bit, because I think this is a really good point, and I said that we would as well earlier on. I think it's really important, because the second most expensive purchase that people make are their cars, and you buy a second-hand car. Realistically, most people buy second-hand cars because they're unable to afford or wish to spend that money on a new vehicle. Same as our houses, they're all second-hand unless you buy new from a developer. And yet when it comes to a lower cost purchase, it seems like we become blighted almost by user belief. I don't want somebody else's computer. I don't want somebody else's phone. I think it's nonsense, and I think most users don't care anymore. It's about the business strategy, about embracing circularity, embracing cost saving, which is really important, but also acknowledging that the industry is vastly different than it was 15 years ago, in my opinion. Yes. I think it's improved massively, and it should be trusted.
It's interesting, people I talk to socially outside of the industry have no idea that there is such a huge industry in recycling devices. A lot of people assume a company will use them for 5 years and then just throw them away.
Yeah, and you're quite right. It goes in the cupboard. We all know the stories of the old cupboard. Open the doors and send the van in to collect hundreds, if not thousands, of items. I still think that's the case in many businesses, and I think there's not an ignorance, because that sounds a really defamatory term, but there's a lack of appreciation of the opportunity that those devices have, if given to the right industry, the right supply chain, to manage data, to refurbish, and then to resell and support. Good point, Phil. To support that device, that means that the objection to embracing circularity should be one of a conscious decision not to, as opposed to fear. And that's where the education piece for me is so important.
I don't know whether in local authority there is just a legal reason that they're told they cannot buy used machines.
Well, there's government policy to encourage and mandate the use and the purchase of refurbished equipment. But again, much like law, it's the actual enforcement of some of these policies that I still think is not really there. And again, it's two sides. I think there's a lobbying perspective to say, I think it's the greening report which states you must buy X percentage of refurbished equipment.
I wasn't aware of that.
And Astrid Wynne is an expert on this area, and I'll probably follow up on this piece with Astrid on this, just to make sure that I'm fact checking myself. But this is a lobbying piece to make sure they're actually doing what is mandated by government policy. But more to the point, there's also an industry responsibility to educate and overcome fear. And I really like the notion of support. It's not a sell and forget. You're selling and supporting, so it's in your vested interest to make sure that device, when it leaves, doesn't have problems for the customer, because it'll erode your margin.
Yeah.
We're gonna finish because we've gone over. I knew we would gone over time, but we're gonna finish. It's Magic Wand time, Phil. It's Harry Potter. If you wanted to change one thing about the sector, what would it be?
I think it would be educating clients to look after their laptops and iMacs especially at end of life, so that when we collect them, they're in the best condition possible. When we go on site, went to one site and they brought down 20 iMacs, 27-inch iMacs for us to collect, and to bring them down, they threw them all in a wheelie bin. Smashed all the screens in them. We had people bringing a trolley down of 40 laptops stacked on top of each other. And you know those bottom 10 are going to be unsellable. So if we can educate the clients to look after the machines better, maybe even discuss with them about the life cycle of the device, when the sweet spot is for them to recycle it, where they can get the highest residual value back.
Yeah, education. I think it's. I always use Alex Ferguson's quote when he was asked, "How do you train millionaire footballers?" And he says, "Like a racehorse, repetition, repetition, repetition." And I think in our industry, when we're trying to create good habits, it's the same. We need to educate and repeat the message, and it will sink in eventually, we hope. So Phil from MacRefresh, welcome back. Congratulations on being certified to ITAD Essentials. Thank you for your time this morning, and I wish you the very best for 2026.
Yeah, and you as well, Steve.
Thank you, Phil.
Goodbye.